Welcome to the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. I am really just excited as we get closer and closer to the holidays. Last night was the first night of Hanukkah. Everybody in the world was getting ready for the holidays, whether it's Christmas or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or something else that you celebrate. It seems like there isn't a single person who's not getting ready to celebrate or already begun celebrating. The malls are crazy. The stores are crazy. There are lines at stores that I haven't seen lines at in years. It is absolutely unbelievable. It's very exciting, and it's good to see. It seems like the economy actually might start to be taking a little bit of a charge forward, and people are actually shopping this year. I really like that. I imagine they're probably all using their Apple Pay as well, because Apple reports that, so many transactions are being done by Apple Pay, and already McDonald's is saying over 50% of all credit card transactions at McDonald's locations are Apple Pay. At McDonald's locations, Apple Pay, amazing. That's unbelievable. So a lot of buzz going on. You guys are getting ready for the holidays. We've told you a lot of cool things to get, and I wanted to have a very special guest on today. Richard Gottlieb is the man. He's from Global Toy Experts, and there's nobody that knows the toy industry or the toy business better than this guy. He's the one who's got his finger on the pulse. He's the foremost authority in the toy space. He's the guy that the toy people go to, right? Toys R Us, Mattel, everybody. So Richard, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm very excited by that introduction. I'm excited to see me. Well, thank you very much. It's a great introduction. Thank you.
You are, but it's the truth. You are an expert, right? And like the foremost expert. The cool thing is you not only do you work with all the top brands, but you also a lot of times interview the CEOs of those brands and share those interviews so that viewers like our viewers can see those interviews or read those interviews and get some really good insight and knowledge. And that's what I really like.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm very fortunate. I attend toy and play industry events in Shanghai, Hong Kong, Germany, Brazil, in New York and Chicago, and when I go to these events, I really get an opportunity to see a lot of people I know and meet a lot of new people, and it's a tremendous learning experience to go to these things, and I read a great deal. I talk to people all the time, and it's called Global Toy Experts, but I always maintain if you're an expert in this day and age, you're screwed. You want to be a student, yeah, and I'm a lifetime student. I really am.
Well, I know it's like to be, but I think that's true. That's actually a good point, right? To be an expert, you actually have to be a student, because if you think about it, if you're a professional athlete, you watch game film, you study not only your opponents but yourself. If you're in your business, you said you read a ton, you go and meet people, you go to events. If you're in this business, you're constantly playing with tech toys, you're reading up on them, you're finding out about people, you're talking to athletes, you're doing all sorts of different stuff. So to be an expert, the truth is you really have to sink yourself in and not only learn about something, but constantly learn and relearn.
Yeah, and you know what, but I do think there is a difference in the 21st century than there was in the 20th century. And then I really feel that things are changing in the moment. I really do. I feel like we're here right now, and it's changing as we're sitting here. Whereas before, it used to almost be like a snapshot world, Yeah, like a picture of the world. And now you can't grab a picture because the minute you formulate a thought, something new is happening.
I think about that all the time. I think it's such an interesting thought that you just put out there, because the reality is I think about that all the time. For instance, take television, right? If you had a television show, a show like Seinfeld would never make it today. And I'll tell you why. Not because it's not a good show, not because the jokes aren't relevant, because they'd update the jokes. The show wouldn't make it because it took a little time to find its audience. And today you wouldn't have that. You'd have a pilot, 1 or 2 episodes, they pull the plug. The same thing with every industry. If you don't have results immediately, I was talking to somebody the other day in the telco business. If you don't have quarter over quarter rates that are going up, right? If your profits aren't going up, heads are rolling, people are out of jobs. And so you're right. And I was thinking about this the other day with products too. It seems like every time you turn around, a new product is out. And the one, even from the same company, the one that came out 6 months ago even now, it's not even a long enough shelf life, 6 months. The one that came out 6 months has been refreshed or replaced. And, the tech companies probably lead the charge with that, with iPhones and phones like the Samsung Galaxies and all that stuff. But the reality is that has gone into culture. And everything has to be refreshed and updated all the time. We're constantly moving now.
Yeah, and I think also, so that's just, vertically kind of this sense of time moving forward. And then in the moment, like, it's so challenging to keep up with everything. I mean, it used to be that you could focus on a particular area of interest, but now other aspects of the world encroach on whatever you're interested in. So I think it's exciting. You're trying to scare me, and I'm excited. I'm going to be excited. I'm not going to be scared.
No,
I'm excited.
I'm just talking about the differences, and I thought you brought up a good point. I love it.
It's scary.
Well, I mean, there is part of it that's scary, and you have to perform constantly, and
Right.
I think that's interesting. But it's true that you do have to be an expert, but you also have to know about all these other things. Talk about your career. How did you get started?
I was originally going to be an English literature professor. I was going to.
You kind of have that look a little.
Well, I was going to wear a coat with that
The
thing on the
patch, yeah, the
sleeves. I
suede
was going to
patch.
smoke a pipe, and.
Then you found out smoking was unhealthy. The patch
Yeah.
didn't look that cool.
That's true, and so anyway, I ended up in working in toys,
Yeah.
and
But how did you get into toys? You don't just end up working in toys,
I still
unless you're Tom Hanks and it's the movie Big.
Well, I still maintain that we in the toy industry and the circus people are the only ones who ask that question. If you're working in a steel mill, people go, "How'd you get a job?" Well, I applied for it. Well, in the toy industry, people think it's like it's magic, and you got to apply for a job. That's one way to do it. Another one is, I think, no, seriously, it's a really good question. I think that you have to go after the toy industry. You really don't see toy industry out there doing a lot of looking for people. I don't think you see them a lot on campuses and that sort of thing. That's one thing. Two, I just don't think people think about it.
Yeah.
I think you think about going to work for a video game company. I think you think about going to work for some company that makes apps.
Can you imagine telling your parents or somebody telling their parents in like the late 60s, early 70s, yeah, I'm going to go to work for Atari. I'm going to go make video games. They would have said, you're bonkers. That's not a career.
Yeah, well, it certainly was one though, and
It continues to
right.
be.
So with the toy industry, I think the biggest thing is people don't think about it.
Yeah.
It's got a lot. It's similar in many ways, I think, to.
So did you literally just apply for a job?
I went to work for a company called Western Publishing Company, and they made. Remember little golden books when you were a kid?
Sure.
We made little golden books. We made puzzles and games, and I ended up working for them. And I just knew somebody who worked for the company. And I don't have to tell you, I was young, and this is a little shallow, what I'm going to say, but what I thought was really cool is he had a company car, and he got to drive places, and so I got a job with them and found I was good at it, and I went into management and started my own business in early '90s, consulting with companies that wanted to go to market, and it's really evolved, and I went from really being a toy guy. To being a play guy, play and entertainment, and so we're really interested in my company. We consult in all forms of play, video games and apps and playgrounds and traditional toys, and we think they're all relate to each other. So that's how I got here.
What do you think happened to video games? Seems like it's such a fickle business, right? It seems like you can either hit a home run or you could strike out completely. Kurt Schilling spent $55 million, a baseball pitcher, trying to get a video game company going and couldn't. And yet, when I read the story about the video game, it seems really interesting and like it's a game I would like to play, or a bunch of titles I would like to play.
I think that the thing that people don't realize is between video games and between toys and between all these movies that come out and between the theme parks and between all the apps, there is more supply of entertainment and play than there is demand. I don't think we've ever had this.
Well, because we didn't play this much. That's the
Right.
reality. We really didn't. We weren't a society that played as much as we did. We didn't have access to play as much. We didn't have the ability to do as much recreation.
Well, I think that, but what's happening is, people think apps are a great industry, and they are, but not a lot of apps break through,
Right.
and video games fell off the table a few years ago, really struggled. Toy industry has been soft, and all because I think there is just more supply than there is demand, and eventually there'll be a shakeout. But for right now, I think it's challenging to be successful. Just because there's not enough. It's not the money; it's the time. There's not enough time to go around.
Right.
The fight is no longer for space on a shelf. It's for how much time can any one individual give to play and entertainment. And if they're a kid, doing their homework and playing soccer, and going to school.
Sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And, when you're assessing what you're going to buy your kid or what your kid's going to buy or what you're going to buy yourself for that time or that play, you really have to assess how much time you're actually going to put into it. And I would love a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One right now. But how much time do I have to devote to it? I have an 18-month-old son. I have very little time to devote to that because I'm with him if I'm not working here. And so my time is limited. And I actually think when you become a parent, your perspective on time changes completely. You realize how precious time is and how
a little of it you have.
Exactly. Because it's taken in so many different directions, right? When you're single, you could just, make up time here or there. You could stay up later.
Right.
You could do this. Or you could say, honey, I'll see you tomorrow. I really got to, put in some extra time at the office or whatever. When you're a parent, you've got to get home to spend time with the family and be there and do this and that and that. And so I think it really shifts the way you think about time.
But I also think that it tells you why tablets are so popular, because when are you going to play? You're going to play in between.
Sure.
Kids, when do they play?
But
they
that's
play in
why
the back seat. They play in between.
But that's why apps are so exciting, because you can I don't have to lug that video game system, or I don't have to lug the Game Boy with me. Even I know it sounds crazy. It's not like you're lugging it, but I already have my phone in my pocket, so I can play that game. Or I can have my tablet in my briefcase, and I don't have to bring another thing, and I can sit while I'm waiting for a show to begin and play a game, or I can send some emails so that later I can play a game. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. When I say that not many apps break through, I'm not saying apps aren't great. There's just so many of them.
Right.
It's like, Angry Bird is I would defy anybody to figure out why lightning struck that particular property. It's just sometimes lightning hits.
Right. And I think the funny thing is about that is what your point is exactly correct, and that yes, apps are great, but people want to say, oh, I'm going to make the next Angry Birds. How many Angry Birds are there? There's one. How many other apps are there that want to be Angry Birds?
Right.
Hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. And so it's really interesting. So what does it take to break through? And okay, maybe you're not going to be Angry Birds, because that truly, I believe, is lightning in a bottle. I think it's timing, it's right place, right time, a bunch of other things. But what does it take to not be Angry Birds, but to be a really good, solid app that does well with sales? Wow, I got to get a new tongue. I'll be back in a few minutes.
I think that it's a really good question. I think that one thing, I think you really have to have a lot of good energy and a lot of internal strength, and you got to believe, and it's a huge piece of it, because you need resilience.
Do you think that's the biggest part in any business, is you have to believe, you have to buy in? So, it's funny. I was thinking about this when I was putting on my makeup in the bathroom, and about startups and entrepreneurs. And I think that there are a lot of people in the world who romanticize about being entrepreneurs. There are a lot of people in the world who think that they want to be entrepreneurs. But to be an entrepreneur, you really, really have to go to the mat. You really have to buy in. You have to work extremely hard. It's not only about being creative. It's about just what you have to give up and be willing to sacrifice, and how hard you have to push and keep pushing, in my mind.
Well, I had a guy one time say to me, I guess when you work for yourself, you really work hard. And I said, well, no, you don't really work any harder than anybody else. It's just you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning scared to death. I said, that's what it is about being an entrepreneur,
Right.
is the ability to sustain anxiety over long periods of time, and the ability to not know how it's all going to end.
But always believe that it's going to work out.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. Of course you work hard, but mostly it's that resilience. So I think that's a huge piece. I think flexibility. I think you have to to accept the fact that maybe the original concept was not the best concept. That you got to be willing to play with it. And I think apps really lend themselves to this constant improvement. So I think you have to not take, too much ownership over what you've created. You have to let it grow and let your end users grow it with you. I think you have to have the courage to share the creative experience with somebody else. I think you have to be willing to share the success or failure with someone else. I remember there was a guy one time, he was a guy that always wanted to own an NFL football team, and he always insisted on owning more than 50%, and he ended up never owning a football team because he was never content to be 40%. So you gotta be willing to share, and so I think these are key elements of it. But I think the most important thing is be prepared to be constantly changing to based on what you see going on around you. And it's not just in business. Listen, I've had people talking about doing business in Russia and how great it's going to be. And I think Apple just announced they're not selling hardware right now in Russia because of the drop in the ruble. So you got to be keyed into even things you don't think affect you, but socioeconomically.
Well, it's really amazing how all sorts of stuff really affect you. Politics affect you.
They do.
I had a company years ago that was crushed by the economic downturn, as a lot of companies were. But I remember that a lot of people, we were humming along, and a lot of people thought that we wouldn't be crushed because, hey, you're humming along.
Right.
But then, sponsors lose budgets, investors don't want to put more money in, et cetera, and you wind up getting crushed by something that had nothing to do with you that you might think is far off. I don't know that I thought that it wouldn't affect us, but I don't know that I thought it would be the end. And so absolutely, all these little things can affect you.
Well, let me show you how you may not, your viewers may not have thought about this, but college debt has a tremendous impact on the toy and play industry. And let me tell you why. You've got students graduating probably for the last, 7-8 years now, with an enormous amount of college debt and no jobs. Okay? So or what's happening is we're experiencing a reduction in household creation. In other words, typically you graduate from college, get a job, you marry your girlfriend, you have some babies, and they start to play, right? Well, we have now had, and this is the 6th straight year of a decline in our birth rate in the United States. Think about that for a minute, okay? Now, that decline in birth rate shows up with kids who are now 6 years old. There's fewer of them to buy toys and playthings. So something that you might think doesn't affect you, college debt, ends up affecting the birth rate, which ends up affecting the toy and play industries. And I have even said to the toy industry, we should be lobbying for a reduction in student loan costs. We should be helping the economy by making sure that young people coming out of college are in a position to form families. It's good for the economy.
And it's not only the toy industry that should be looking at that. Everybody should be looking at that.
Absolutely.
It cripples students. We had an intern who was asking me if she should transfer colleges. She was at a small college paying, it's still a good amount of money, but a small amount of money. She wanted to go to NYU. She was going to have to take on about $250,000 in student loans. And I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you don't really know, right?
Sure.
But she says, I want to be an editor. I said, well, I got to tell you something. I don't think it's going to matter if you come out of NYU or this other school.
Yeah, good point.
And you're going to be saddled with, and we sat and figured out the numbers, and it would have taken her 30 years if she could have paid that loan off at $500 a month, which is a lot coming out of college. Every month, not miss a payment. And I said, that means when your parents get sick, you're still making payments. When your car breaks down, you're still making payments. When life hits you, you're still making that payment.
Payments, right.
And it's 30 solid years.
Right.
And I gave her a salary coming right out of school of $50,000, which would have been a lot of money for her, especially as an editor. So, yeah, I think we don't really take into account how much that affects our economy in general. This is why you're the toy expert.
Well, no, I'm just saying. So just when you look, I would encourage all your readers to actually read the newspaper every day. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you do it online. I don't know if you care if you open up paper, but I consider the New York Times.
And I was gonna say it's got to be the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, right? Those are the only two papers.
I read the New York Times end to end.
Yeah.
Every day.
I mean, there are a lot of other great papers. That's not what I'm saying.
But I'm giving you an example.
But I'm just saying that if there are only 2 papers you can read, and you want to know you want to be plugged in globally, and you should get plugged in on a community level too.
Well, you may want to read Global Toy News, my magazine. No, but
that's a magazine, not a newspaper.
No, that's true. No, but you really do too. I think the New York Times or whatever it is, but just make sure that you have a holistic view of the world, because the whole world impacts your business, whether you realize it or not. And so it's, instead of getting hit by the train, maybe you can be driving a train.
Right. Which would be nice.
If you own a train.
Yeah, if you own the train. How about just owning the train company?
I actually am working with a train company right now.
Are you really?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Well,
I am.
let's talk about that and a whole lot more. We got to take a quick break.
Okay.
Is that cool?
That's cool.
You can stay with us?
I'm not going anywhere.
Excellent.
I'm gonna
Richard
drink some
Gottlieb,
water.
GlobalToyExperts.com. We'll be back with a whole lot more. The Michael Artsis Show right after this. I'm Michael Artsis. Stay with us. My favorite 2 devices are my iPhone and iPad. I really love them. And I really want to ditch the laptop so that I can just use the iPhone and iPad on the road. Well, if I do that, that means that I have to be able to bring my Be Terrific content with me. And I'm so excited to announce that now you can. We teamed up with Como, COMO.com. You can go build your own app there to build our app. And we've got an amazing app. Not only is it in the Apple iTunes store, it's also in the Android store and the Amazon Kindle store. And you can get your app just by going to BeTerrific.com/app. It's free and it's fun. You can interact with us and engage with us. You can follow us socially, and you can watch all our content on the go, including our live stuff. And there's a whole lot more features here, including getting in touch with us. Go to BeTerrific.com/app, pick which device you have, and it'll take you to the right store. You'll be able to download this app free and take us on the go. Have fun with it and do it now. And by the way, there's an events page so you can find out about all our coverage and events that are coming up. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for supporting us, and continue to enjoy our amazing content. At Be Terrific, we move a lot of gear, a lot of places, and we have to set it up and then be able to move it and have a great stable platform, one that's easily transportable and folds nicely. Well, we found one in Innovative Carts. We love our innovative carts. We use the Echo. There's the 36 and the 48, and of course they have other carts that are just amazing. And they're not just for video production or filmmaking, but they're great for that. They come with a slew of different options, including a roll top so you can type on them. And you also have cable pass-throughs. We've got locking drawers, these really amazing wheels, handles, and the thing folds up really great. In addition to that, there's a monitor mount you can get for it, so you can mount your monitor off of it so it won't take up room on the top. There are also shelves available. We love our innovative cart. We find it to be the best thing we've ever gotten. It saves our back, and it's great for a home base on set or during our live productions. It's really, really tremendous. You've got to check out innovative carts. Now, it's not only great for video production and media and live programming, it's also great for the medical field and for all sorts of other industries as well. Check out Innovative Carts. They're truly amazing. There is no cart out there that's better than Innovative Carts. That's innovative with one I and no E. Check them out, innovativecarts.com. And tell Pat, my friend, that Be Terrific sent you. Hi, I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for watching Be Terrific. We hope you're enjoying the great content. Our team here works tirelessly to put together an amazing lineup of content for you, and they want to thank you for watching. So on behalf of them, thank you. Now, a few months back, we brought you the story of Tina Katz. It's an inspiring, uplifting, and miraculous story, and it's not over yet. Tina is a good friend of mine, and she's the sister of Be Terrific co-founder Peter Poon. Unfortunately, she was in a terrible accident just before the new year, and she lost her legs. But Tina finally got prosthetics with your help, and now she still needs your help because her fight isn't over yet. She still needs to accomplish a lot. To find out more, go to TinaVerseThe7Train.com. You can read all about her story, and you can find out exactly what she needs. And there you can donate, because it takes a community to help get Tina back on her feet. Her story is so inspiring. I hope that one day she'll go public and tell her story to everybody so that she can do the speaking circuit and uplift a lot of people. But right now, I know she's uplifting and inspiring you just like she does me. Don't worry, at Be Terrific, we'll keep you up to date on her progress and do more stories so that you can follow how she's doing. But you can also do that on TinaVerseThe7Train.com. And, of course, you can go there to donate. Please do. I'm Michael Artsis. From the bottom of my heart,
thank you. And keep it locked to Be Terrific. At Be Terrific, we do a lot of events and bring you a lot of great coverage. But we need to spread the word about Be Terrific, and you guys do a great job of doing that for us. We really appreciate that. But to do it fully, we need branding. And when we do these events, we need to be able to set up quickly and easily and have a home base, to be able to create a set, protect our gear, and shield our talent from lights of the event we're in, so we can add our own lighting and hang our cameras. We've teamed up with Easy Up to do that for Comic-Con and going forward. They gave us a great shelter that takes no time to set up and also is toolless. It's phenomenal and it's reasonably priced. So whether you have a production company, a media house, or you want to just sell some products at an event, what you need is an Easy Up top. An Easy Up top is phenomenal. You can do all sorts of branding. You can add side rails like we have. You can add a back wall like we have. And you'll get aerial branding, on the ground branding, and a place to put all your stuff, protect your team, and call home. It's perfect. What you want to do is go to easyup.com. That's easyup.com. Talk to Wayne Dove. He's a sales guy there. He's amazing. He's become a good friend, and he took good care of us. He's the one who got us our tent. They've got great people there, they've got a great team, and they've got a great, rich, storied history. There's no better shelter, there's no faster shelter than Easy Up. It sets up in minutes, it's fire tested and fire rated, and it's fire retardant. They're really, really structurally sound, and they look beautiful. How could you beat that? Oh yeah, I forgot. They're reasonably priced. So that's the kicker. Go to easyup.com. Tell Wayne that Be Terrific sent you. They'll take good care of you, don't worry, and have your company represented well at your next event. And it only takes minutes to set up and break down and then set up again. Look how amazing it looks. I am so excited about this. Thank you, Easy Up.
Welcome back to the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. I've got Richard Gottlieb in studio here. He's from Global Toy Experts, globaltoyexperts.com. Richard, we've been having such a good conversation. I really enjoyed it.
I've been enjoying it myself.
Off camera too, right?
Right.
I just think, you know, we've said this before. You're the foremost expert in the toy business. You're phenomenal. You really know your stuff. But I think a lot of it is part of what we've been talking about. You don't just look at the patient, you look at global situation, right? And so you don't just look at one issue, you look at the entire picture.
Yeah, I'm not the guy, you know, somebody goes like, what's the hot toy?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the hot toy guy. There's other people. Really, there's some very good hot toy people out there. You know, I'm not the hot toy guy. I'm the person who really wants to understand how the play and the economics of play fit into the greater world that we live in, both culturally, societally, business. How do we make money? I mean, we do this for a living, you know, and how do we make money? And at the same time, how do we do the right thing? You know, it is possible to be ethical and have values and to make money all at the same time. So it's very doable. You know, one time I had somebody, I was listening to this professor, and he said, they were talking about business ethics. And he said that some people think that good business and good ethics are the same thing. And he said that if they were, there would be no concept of business ethics, which I thought was really interesting. You know, so it doesn't always align, but it is possible to do the right thing and to make money.
I would agree with that 100%. And I think that sometimes you have to make tough choices because you want to be ethical, you know, and you don't want to hurt people. And sometimes those can be tough decisions, and they can hurt your business even, or maybe not make you as profitable, but you're doing the right thing.
That's the hard part, is when something I was working for a company one time, and we had just worked really, really hard, and we found a problem with the product. It was a concern, and this was like late in the game, and we had to pull it. But it was, you know, it's like horrible, you know, I mean, because it's not only is it damaging economically, but it's damaging in the sense of, wow, you know, I put all that energy into that thing.
Morale must have been really tough after that.
Yeah, it gets hard. It gets hard. But we came back.
What is your favorite part of your job and what you do?
I like writing about play. I really do. I like it fills me up.
So do you actually play video games? Do you play with apps? I know that I know that you're not the hot toy guy, but do you actually, like, when you're evaluating this stuff or when you're consulting, do you actually go and play with it?
Yeah, with our clients, we actually get into of course, playing with their products that they bring us, and one of the things I think you may find interesting that we do now, in our business, somebody will come to us with a toy, or somebody may come with an app or whatever, and we used to just see it as for what it was, but we don't anymore. We do a different thing now, and we say, okay, what is the intellectual property behind the toy or behind the app? And is that toy the best way for it to come to market initially? In other words, somebody comes to you with a toy, and I saw a guy who had created a game. This guy had created a game, and the game board was so complex that my brain almost exploded. Think of Monopoly, but there's maybe 50 times more squares.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it, and what I realized he was a guy who didn't understand apps and technology, so he created his game based on what he knew how to do. It was an analog version. And so his game should be an app because it would be far too expensive and too complex, So you kind of look at it and you don't try to just, you go back beyond what's presented to you.
Well, and I love, when you talk about that, though, if somebody came to you with the Power Glove, remember the Power Glove from Nintendo?
Yeah.
If somebody came to you with that today, maybe you would think that, hey, there's a better application for this to come to market, or a better way, or maybe this is better as a medical device. Maybe there's medical applications.
Absolutely.
And not only would you be more successful and make more money, but you'd actually be doing good, as opposed to the Power Glove. Now, the Power Glove is a cult classic today, but if you remember, it was a huge failure for Nintendo.
Right. Well, I think that, again, so I would, if any of your viewers are creatives, when you do these things, take what you've created and maybe show it to somebody who, let's say, it's a board game, but show it to an app developer.
Can board games succeed today?
Oh, they're doing great.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Board games have made a comeback. But it's more complex kind of board games, and it really comes from a sense that people want
more complex than Monopoly. That game takes 14 years to play.
Well, like the Settlers of Catan, it's not more time consuming necessarily, but it's more complex.
But, I mean, certainly Monopoly has its complexity because it's all about business and money management, and it's also about reading, people and making negotiations and all this other stuff.
And staying off a boardwalk.
Right.
If somebody else has it with a hotel.
Without a doubt. And staying out of jail.
Right.
Which sounds a lot like life.
Yeah, it does sound a lot like you're going for that free parking, So I would suggest they may want to, let's say you've invented a game, board game. Talk to somebody in apps.
Yeah.
Let's say you've invented an app. Talk to somebody in board games.
If you're a great board game guy, right? You've come up with what you think is the greatest board game, but you have no idea how to even use a computer, which, would be crazy today. But let's just say, how do they got to just reach out to somebody. They got to partner with somebody.
Well, one of the things we do, and I did not intend this, but we do bridge people to other forms of a lot of people don't know how to find that app developer, but if you can find your way there, be willing to share.
Sure.
That app developer, if they like what you have well enough and they believe in it, they may be willing to invest, their time and their creativity.
Has there been a toy in your lifetime, let's say, that just surprised you with its success, where you thought, this is a toy that's completely missed its mark and it's done amazing?
Well, I think that what I'm always amazed by is those products that just suddenly take off and we don't fully understand why. And
like Angry Birds, I guess.
Well, Angry Birds, the hula hoop. The hula hoop was incredible. And I actually know a guy he's 92 years old, but he was involved with hula hoop.
Okay.
and those dolls, Cabbage Patch.
Oh my
Dolls,
God!
yeah.
My wife and my in-laws and I were talking about that the other day, and how that was like I that's the most ferocious holiday shopping I've ever seen in my life. I remember being in Toys R Us as a young kid, and the shelves being empty, being like one Cabbage Patch doll with its head like literally down there, the body's over here, a box like split open, people like arguing back and forth, managers involved. Like I do not remember holiday shopping that ferocious over one item.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they've got it more figured out now, right? When they have an Xbox release or they have an iPhone release, they have lines around the block.
Hold on now. See, like with an Xbox release, there's some anticipation.
Right.
But when a Cabbage Patch doll takes off, when when the company is not manufacturing the demand.
So they were completely blindsided
Right.
by
The
that.
demand was ground up. There was no, Mattel or Hasbro or any company can go out and spend a lot of money and they can create demand through.
Sure.
But when it just happens on its own, something's happened, and I feel it's hard to learn from it because we don't truly understand quite. It's like chaos theory.
Right.
We really don't understand quite what happened.
What happened with Cabbage Patch? Why do we have any idea like why it became? What was the lightning in a bottle at that moment?
I know
for
why they went out of business. But really, I did. They got so excited that they decided to build their own factories.
What?
And and then Cabbage Patch declined, and they owned these factories, and they went bankrupt. With hula hoop, I've talked to people who were doing this and at the time, and they said it was so popular that they were getting garden hose companies manufacturing it for them.
Wow.
But I was talking to this gentleman who, his name is Reuben Klamer, and Reuben's cool. Reuben invented the game of life, by the way.
It's a great game.
Yeah. And he has on his wall in his house an original hula hoop from Australia. It was originally, created by the natives of Australia, and it's made out of grass. And it took off in gym class in Australia in the 1950s. And Reuben, who's I think he's ranked 90, got a call from a guy down there. So you got to see this. They mailed him this thing. He's got it on his wall. He couldn't get the rights to hula hoop. He got there. So what he did was he came out with his own called Spin-A-Hoop. And never looked back.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great story.
That's an amazing story. As is the Cabbage Patch story too, and the fact that these guys had this great product that did really, really well and overshot after their success.
Yeah, and that happens a lot, where we get carried away, with a product. But anyway, go back to your point. You asked me. So these are the products that surprised me. I'm never ready for them. Silly bands from a few years ago, which were those little animal-shaped rubber bands. Like whoa, I gotta have silly band. And then when it died, it just died a terrible death. It was sudden.
Yeah. Didn't the Pillow Pet have something like
Pillow
that
Pet,
a couple years ago? It was
very
really
well.
just.
It is usually, but there are some that are more than just a fad, and I think a Cabbage Patch where people fight,
right?
In the aisles. That's some stuff going on there. Get
Yeah.
them something else. Get them something else. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's pretty amazing that people are willing to fight over an object, especially just for the holidays. A toy.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like a mania.
Yeah.
Well, take a look at there's some very sad stories around Beanie Babies, Beanie Baby collectors. People who literally thought that they would pay for their college education
But
for their
why
children.
would people think that? I never understood that. I just never understood that.
Well,
wasn't Beanie Baby a berry product? Wasn't it out of the berry?
Forgot the guy's name.
Okay.
But I'll think of it in a little while. But what was interesting about Beanie Babies was, near the end, they were manufacturing short runs to create demand. So, and it just collapsed. It was the teddy bear collapse of 2000, I think.
But it's just so amazing to me that people thought, I'm gonna buy this and it's gonna just go up in value forever. Like, why? Because there are only 10 of the blue ones available, but they're going to make the same thing in red.
Because everybody they know thinks they like they do. So you have you really think about it. It's a Beanie Baby community. If you're that wild about Beanie Baby, you know people who are into Beanie Babies, and you're buying and selling, and you're all telling each other the same thing. You know, so
It's. I think that there are very few things that are really collectible, and I also think that you almost have to just be lucky with collectibles, because I think that you can't collect everything, and you never really know what's really going to be a collectible. And then the stuff that is collectible, like if you were to buy a Honus Wagner baseball card, you're going to pay so much money for that baseball card that the average person can't start collecting on that level.
But why don't we just take a second though and split it up? And there's collectors, and then there are people who are investors.
Okay.
And collectors don't want the price to go up. They're not into it to make money.
I think that they do, though. I think that
that's investors. Speculators.
No.
Speculators.
No. I think collectors, investors and speculators have big dollars, and they want the price to go up. But I think that I think that the collectors want the price to go up, if nothing else, but to say, I have this, and it's now I paid $1 for this, and it's now worth $10,000.
Yeah, but if that's worth
one of one.
But if it's now worth $10,000, are you going to buy that? I just think that speculators tend to drive these things up, and that's what kind of causes the bubble to burst. Is that it is artificially fed up by lots of money flowing in because people think it's an investment. So I just think if you're going to collect because you're passionate about it. Because I have some Oz books.
Yeah.
I collect them. They're not worth a lot, but I love them.
But you love them, and they make you smile, and
yeah,
you can display them. And but that's what I'm saying is collect it because you want to, but you can't collect everything. You can't have Oz books and mugs and stamp collection.
You can't if you're a nut. If you're a nut, you can have a big collection of everything.
You can. That's true.
Right.
And no place to live.
Right. It's don't
All
be
right.
a nut. Don't be.
You got a few more minutes for us?
Sure.
Because we got to take another break.
Okay.
And we'll be back after this with a whole lot more. Richard Gottlieb from the Global Toy Experts. I'm Michael Artsis. We'll be back.
My favorite two devices are my iPhone and iPad. I really love them. And I really want to ditch the laptop so that I can just use the iPhone and iPad on the road. Well, if I do that, that means that I have to be able to bring my Be Terrific content with me. And I'm so excited to announce that now you can. We teamed up with Como, COMO.com. You can go build your own app there to build our app. And we've got an amazing app. Not only is it in the Apple iTunes Store, it's also in the Android Store and the Amazon Kindle Store. And you can get your app just by going to beterrific.com/app. It's free and it's fun. You can interact with us and engage with us. You can follow us socially, and you can watch all our content on the go, including our live stuff. And there's a whole lot more features here, including getting in touch with us. Go to beterrific.com/app, pick which device you have, and it'll take you to the right store. You'll be able to download this app free and take us on the go. Have fun with it and do it now. And by the way, there's an events page so you can find out about all our coverage and events that are coming up. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for supporting us, and continue to enjoy our amazing content. At Be Terrific, we move a lot of gear, a lot of places, and we have to set it up and then be able to move it and have a great stable platform, one that's easily transportable and folds nicely. Well, we found one in Innovative Carts. We love our innovative carts. We use the Echo. There's the 36 and the 48, and of course they have other carts that are just amazing. And they're not just for video production or filmmaking, but they're great for that. They come with a slew of different options, including a roll top so you can type on them. And you also have cable pass-throughs. We've got locking draws, these really amazing wheels, handles, and the thing folds up really great. In addition to that, there's a monitor mount you can get for it, so you can mount your monitor off of it so it won't take up room on the top. There are also shelves available. We love our innovative cart. We find it to be the best thing we've ever gotten. It saves our back, and it's great for a home base on set or during our live productions. It's really, really tremendous. You've got to check out innovative carts. Now, it's not only great for video production and media and live programming, it's also great for the medical field and for all sorts of other industries as well. Check out Innovative Carts. They're truly amazing. There is no cart out there that's better than Innovative Carts. That's innovative with one I and no E. Check them out, innovativecarts.com. And tell Pat, my friend, that Be Terrific sent you. Hi, I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for watching Be Terrific. We hope you're enjoying the great content. Our team here works tirelessly to put together an amazing lineup of content for you. and they want to thank you for watching. So on behalf of them, thank you. Now, a few months back, we brought you the story of Tina Katz. It's an inspiring, uplifting, and miraculous story, and it's not over yet. Tina is a good friend of mine, and she's the sister of Be Terrific co-founder Peter Poon. Unfortunately, she was in a terrible accident just before the new year, and she lost her legs. But Tina finally got prosthetics with your help, and now she still needs your help because her fight isn't over yet. She still needs to accomplish a lot. To find out more, go to tinaversethe7train.com. You can read all about her story, and you can find out exactly what she needs. And there you can donate, because it takes a community to help get Tina back on her feet. Her story is so inspiring. I hope that one day she'll go public and tell her story to everybody so that she can do the speaking circuit and uplift a lot of people. But right now, I know she's uplifting and inspiring you just like she does me. Don't worry, at Be Terrific, we'll keep you up to date on her progress and do more stories so that you can follow how she's doing. But you can also do that on tinaversethe7train.com. And, of course, you can go there to donate. Please do. I'm Michael Artsis. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. And keep it locked to Be Terrific. At Be Terrific, we do a lot of events and bring you a lot of great coverage. But we need to spread the word about Be Terrific, and you guys do a great job of doing that for us. We really appreciate that. But to do it fully, we need branding. And when we do these events, we need to be able to set up quickly and easily and have a home base, to be able to create a set, protect our gear, and shield our talent from lights of the event we're in, so we can add our own lighting and hang our cameras. We've teamed up with EasyUp to do that for Comic-Con and going forward. They gave us a great shelter that takes no time to set up and also is toolless. It's phenomenal and it's reasonably priced. So whether you have a production company, a media house, or you want to just sell some products at an event, what you need is an EasyUp top. An EasyUp top is phenomenal. You can do all sorts of branding. You can add side rails like we have. You can add a back wall like we have. And you'll get aerial branding, on the ground branding, and a place to put all your stuff, protect your team, and call home. It's perfect. What you want to do is go to easyup.com. That's easyup.com. Talk to Wayne Dove. He's a sales guy there. He's amazing. He's become a good friend, and he took good care of us. He's the one who got us our tent. They've got great people there, they've got a great team, and they've got a great, rich, storied history. There's no better shelter, there's no faster shelter than EasyUp. It sets up in minutes, it's fire tested and fire rated, and it's fire retardant. They're really, really structurally sound, and they look beautiful. How could you beat that? Oh yeah, I forgot. They're reasonably priced. So that's the kicker. Go to easyup.com. Tell Wayne that Be Terrific sent you. They'll take good care of you, don't worry, and have your company represented well at your next event. And it only takes minutes to set up and break down and then set up again. Look how amazing it looks. I am so excited about this. Thank you, EasyUp.
Welcome back. We're talking with Richard Gottlieb from Global Toy Experts. Got to go to globaltoyexperts.com. You've got 3 websites. Let's go through them real quick.
Okay. Global Toy Experts is our website for our consulting business, and we consult with toy and play companies and children's media as well. We work with companies that want to bring their products to market. You know, we work anything from new inventors who've got great IP, intellectual property. We work with existing companies that really want to develop their products. And what really interests us right now, we enjoy working with companies who maybe are in one form of business. Maybe they're in apps and they want to figure out how to get into the toy business. In other words, they've got a character they've created as an app, and they want it in a toy. And we got toy people who want to go into video games. So we're a bridge. We help people get across. And then the other thing, we got a magazine called Global Toy News, and it covers the business of play and from really a 360-degree kind of view, and we cover everything that impacts play and everything that play impacts.
Where can people get Global Toy News?
www.globaltoynews.com.
All right.
And then finally, we put on a conference called the World Congress of Play. And we've put it on for 2 years now, and it is the only conference that brings together all the play industries together in one place at one time.
That's pretty awesome.
It is. We get we get leaders, visionaries from video games, theme parks, playground, toys, you name it.
Where is that happening?
It was in San Francisco the last 2 years.
Okay.
And we are in negotiations with a major company right now that possibly underwriting us. So I can't disclose it.
All right. Well,
but it's really big.
I look forward to finding out more about that, and we'd love to be broadcasting live from there as well.
We would love to have you there.
All right, we got to figure that out. We were talking in the break about Star Wars toys and the whole situation with that. What about the way that when Star Wars launched and the craze went for Star Wars toys, a friend of ours here at Be Terrific, Brian Stillwell, created the documentary Plastic Galaxies that kind of documents all of what happened and the entire Star Wars series of toys. But when you look back at that, how did they seem to navigate that really well?
Well, it was at that time a company called Kenner, Kenner, which I think was eventually purchased by Mattel.
It's either Mattel or
Hasbro.
I think it's Hasbro, but yeah.
Maybe you're right. And so they purchased. So Mattel had the rights to Star Wars, and it wasn't. I mean, nobody knew Star Wars was going to be Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was just another movie.
Well, back then, too, the thing is that toys that were tied to movies didn't do well. They did okay, but they didn't do amazing.
It was more tied to TV shows.
Right.
And so the movie comes out, and it goes crazy. I mean, it just goes crazy. And Kenner had the action figures. And so Kenner ran out of the action figures. And Kenner couldn't get the action figures back in time for Christmas. So what they did, and it's considered historically one of the most incredible marketing achievements, they sold empty boxes.
With a note that said your toy will arrive
soon, which entitles you to turn this in to get a toy, and they sold out of the empty boxes. So it was, I think, really an incredible piece of business thinking that somebody really figured out that this thing was that popular that they could sell empty boxes, It's
amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And it's speaking of Star Wars, your audience might find this interesting. Star Wars is considered to be a real groundbreaker in another way, and that was in the way it told a story. And what I mean by that is prior to Star Wars, somebody would do a movie, let's say, and take E.T., and that might have come out after Star Wars. I don't remember. But you do you could have E.T. Scotch tape. It actually was E.T. Scotch tape. It was just Scotch tape and had a picture of E.T. on it. I remember at the time. So, or you could have E.T. lunchbox. But Lucas had a story to tell.
Right.
So what Lucas did was he kept control not just of what it was going to look like, but the storyline. So if I gave you the rights to the books, your books had to fill in the story between the movies. Okay? So if I read the books, I would have a complete experience with the books.
It wasn't just a sellout. It was
right. It was all about driving the narrative of the story. Video game has to fit in. The cartoon show, all of it has to fit in so that the more you engage, the richer the experience is.
Right.
And that's what he did, and that's an historic thing.
And a lot of people have emulated that now. A lot of companies have
now
emulated
it's done
that.
all the time. But then it was
right, absolutely.
brand new.
And I think that their whole marketing concept wound up being brilliant with Kenner, with the toys. I think it was just genius. It reminds me a lot of what's happening now on Kickstarter, right? Like, people are buying air. You buy the Pebble watch, and they'll sell $10 million worth of Pebble watches before ever really making one retail product. Or Bridge keyboards. We know the Bridge guys really well. They did $1 million in sales of keyboards before ever delivering a keyboard.
Yeah, well, we were talking earlier about, being successful today. And I think that there are ways that, in some ways it's much harder, in some ways it's, I don't want to use the term easier, but less harder to come to market.
It's the opposite of harder.
Right, it's less harder. And I think that your example there of Kickstarter is a perfect example of a way really to not just raise money, but to determine if it's a viable product for the marketplace.
Is that, the one thing I don't like about Kickstarter is I don't want people to feel like it's an absolute answer, because you can have a success on Kickstarter and really not have a product that people want. And conversely, you can have a failure on Kickstarter or other crowdfunding sites and really still have a product that people want or a service. And the reason I say that is because of this. Think about this. If a company, especially now that it's not the infancy of crowdfunding anymore, if a company doesn't market their campaign well enough, you might not find out about their campaign and buy it. And on the other hand, you might buy it, and 100,000 people buying a product is still a small fraction of the global world.
But you're making a really terrific point, and I just like to add to it. And I thought of it as you were saying that also, does that product appeal to the Kickstarter community? I mean, it's not just every average person that is aware of Kickstarter, that goes to Kickstarter.
Well, and for instance, I've never done a Kickstarter. I've never bought a product off Kickstarter, and I wouldn't. I would wait till it comes out in the stores. As much as I want to help entrepreneurs and help them get going, I would wait till it comes into the store, make sure it's the product that I want, and then buy it, as opposed to, I have to have this now, let me give you my money. You may or may not make this product. You may or may run off for the hills. It may or may not be good, and let me have it in like 9 months.
But I would say this to any of your folks out there who want to go into business. People kind of think to themselves, they go like, man, I actually had somebody say, I'm either going to be a phenomenal success or I'm going to be a horrible failure. And I said, well, the reality is like you're not going to be a fabulous success and you're not going to be a horrible failure. The reality is you're going to be not quite good enough, and you don't know whether to keep it going, and it's selling, but you're not enjoying it because it's so hard. I said, that's really where true life is, because if you think you're either going to be a success or a total failure, you won't try. It's too scary. And the reality is not as pleasant, but it's not as exciting, but it's real. So if you want to really bring something to market, be ready to wake up at 2:00 in the morning and be scared.
Yeah. It's a good motivating factor.
Oh, yeah.
I say, to me, vacuuming is a good motivating factor.
It works off energy, you think?
No, it's about the fact that I would like to never vacuum again. And so when I vacuum...
I really like vacuuming.
Do you?
I do like vacuuming.
When I'm vacuuming, I sit there and I go, this is something I'd like to pay somebody else to do. So it's a real motivating factor.
How do you feel about dusting?
I feel the same about any kind of cleaning.
Okay.
Why? Do you like dusting? What do you like about vacuuming?
I tell you, I'm seriously. It's
yeah.
I'll tell you why. In my business, I don't know what's going to happen for a really long time.
Right.
It's always like abstract. In a year I'll know. With vacuuming, there's dust,
and
now there's no dust. So
you're accomplishing something.
It's finite. It's finite. I've accomplished something.
And it's immediate.
It is immediate.
Yeah.
And there's not much that's
I will
immediate.
tell you, I do get joy out of defeating the dust. I'm serious. I do get joy out of it. Yes, I like winning.
Winning against dust. Yeah.
I do. Like when it gets into the vacuum and it's there and I watch it go into the vacuum and it's not there anymore, there is satisfaction in that. But I sit there and I go, I can't. This is like an hour of my time that I could be doing something else.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it takes forever to vacuum.
Unless you go, I was one of the first people that had the robot vacuum, by the way.
Well, I mean, come on. Now you've got the robot vacuum. That's
I was a failure.
That's like cheating.
It was not. It was very disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know many people that have said it's a success.
No, it wasn't.
I can't imagine it being.
But at the time, it was.
What about robots? Are robots gonna replace us?
Well, there is some really serious talk now that that we really may be putting people out of jobs.
Yeah.
And that robots are getting the difference that's happening is their ability to think now. And of course,
is that scary at all? That's you want to talk about what scares me? That scares me.
Well, Hawking,
because I've watched the freaking Terminator movies.
Would you see Hawking?
Yes,
the other
I
day
saw this.
That
15 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, come on, he's crazy. In 15 years, the robots aren't going to take over the world. 30 years, it's possible.
It could happen in 15.
Yeah.
Why couldn't it happen? They're already learning. They could learn how to build themselves. They could learn how to repair themselves.
But really, just for this, for this right now, though. That
Am I getting way too far down the field?
well,
Am I
no,
getting carried away?
But before the robots take over the world, that really we could see some stress on jobs.
Yeah.
You know, and some people even think that it may be affecting. One of the reasons we're not creating as many jobs right now. I mean, like Amazon. Amazon has all these robots in,
of
in
course.
the factory.
Not,
you know.
and then they're going to have the drones too to deliver. UPS is going to be out of jobs.
So I think that really this is a cultural and societal issue that we're going to have to keep an eye on.
So how do you balance that? How does
you're the guy that makes the robots? That's how you balance it.
Well, the guy who makes. All right, that's it. We're starting a robot company. No, but the thing is that robots can be really cool and they can be really fun. But on the other hand, there is this. So is there a business ethics that maybe it's okay to still pay people instead of replacing them with robots, even if that's more efficient and you don't have to pay health care and you don't have to worry about sick days?
I tell you, I mean, we've already confronted this in a way in terms of offshoring jobs.
Yeah.
And American manufacturers offshored jobs to other countries, and what ended up happening was people in America made lower wages, but that the products they purchased cost much less than they would have. Right now, today, if I was supposed to do an interview on a television show about American Girl doll and it being made in China. And, you know, if an American Girl doll was made in the United States, it might be twice as much money to purchase.
How could it be twice as much money? I mean, that sounds insane.
Well,
Those dolls are so expensive.
We pay our workers very well. I mean, we should. You know, an American worker makes a lot more than a Chinese worker does. You know, so it's you know.
So this is the thing I've always said, right? Is that people would get on Nike for going to China and making the sneakers in China, and then that the Chinese people weren't getting paid enough. On the other hand, now, and I'm not saying this isn't a blanket statement, but what I am saying is that the people in China also need to make money too. So they might not be treated well enough. They might not be making as much as they should, but the wage scale is very different, and they do need to make money.
Well,
so it's not 100%.
But there's another difference, though, and that is the Chinese government is really concerned about people having jobs.
Right.
Because people with jobs it creates a stable society, and they're more concerned about instability than anything else. You know, so they're willing to have people make less money so more people have jobs. Whereas here in the United States, we truly are a free market economy, and you want to make as much money as you possibly can. You know, so there are other things at play in China than just the economics. There's some political things and social things that are going on there as well. But the point I was trying to make earlier was that we did offshore jobs. So I think it would be possible that jobs would be turned over to robots, and in the same way that we offshore jobs.
Sure.
And so I think the real question is going to be what are people going to do for a living? And I think that it's a real interesting question.
In that situation, are we really losing jobs, or is China losing jobs?
Well, that's a great. There you go. He just hit one out of the ballpark. Yes, a lot of it would affect the Chinese. Automation.
I'm back on robots. Let's get robots in here.
Yeah. have a robot doing this, you know.
No, but see, I don't want that. We need personality. Isn't that what this makes it?
That's true. But
you
anyway.
can't have robots doing everything, by the way. I really think that there are a lot of things that you need a personal touch for. Well, how would you like to check into a hotel and have a robot?
It's not a question of will all the jobs go to robots. It's will there be enough jobs that are turned over to robots that it has an impact on society.
Right.
See, it's not the people concentrate, like when we talk about I'm going to be great, really successful, or I'm going to be horrible, and so we go, it's going to lose all the jobs. We're not going to lose all the jobs. The challenge is whether it's robotics or anything, is it going to move the needle just enough that it creates a social disruption?
You travel a lot.
I do.
You said that at the very beginning.
Right.
Bring it full circle. What's your favorite place to travel that you go to for a show or an expo?
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I love Hong Kong. It's
you know where Pete was born?
No.
Pete was born in Hong Kong. Pete's producing the show, holding down the fort.
Pete over there, Hong Kong guy. Right. Hong Kong is it's a wonderful city because it's extremely cosmopolitan, and I don't think anybody's a stranger in Hong Kong. It's like a safer, smaller New York. Cleaner, too.
Sounds good.
I like it.
I gotta get to Hong Kong.
You should. You should. It's a great town and great people. I like Hong Kong a lot. And
Okay.
there's nothing against the other places I've been. I just like Hong Kong.
Right. I didn't ask you if you didn't like other
Well,
places. I said,
but
what's
you know,
your
you
favorite?
didn't ask me that, did you?
I said, what's your favorite?
Yeah, it's Hong Kong.
Excellent. Richard Gottlieb from Global Toy Experts,
Thank you.
globaltoyexperts.com.
Enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
You were great.
Thank
Come back anytime.
I would
please.
love to.
And we're going to see you at CES.
Yes.
We're going to be live at CES from January 6th to 9th. You're going to bring some guests on and do a little hosting yourself?
I am. I'm going to be pretty excited about that.
I'm excited about it too.
Okay.
So we'll see you at CES, January 6th to 9th. You're not going to want to miss our CES coverage. We'll be at CES live, wall-to-wall coverage every day. The first 2 days in the Las Vegas Convention Center. The second 2 days after the big announcements and all the small vendors and big vendors at the Las Vegas Convention Center will be in the Sands Pavilion, where they have innovation, entrepreneurs, and all sorts of great startup companies. We'll be talking to them and getting some great stuff. Wall-to-wall coverage. Richard will be there. We'll be there, and we're going to all do this amazing broadcast together. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to want to miss that. With that, I'm going to say goodbye for today. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for watching. For Peter Poon and everybody here at Be Terrific, thank you. Be terrific.